District 1 has a very unique history when it comes to zoning. Back in 1989, back when we had community school boards, our school board made a decision to remove the zones. And to this day, District 1 does not have zones or catchments. But we need to understand that that happened in a particular way, in a particular context, and for a particular purpose. And the reason was what our school board wanted to see happening in our neighborhood, and part of the context is this was a gentrifying neighborhood, is they wanted to remove the zones or the catchments, which very, very often reflect patterns of housing segregation back in the schools. And they wanted to give everybody an equal opportunity to go to all of our great schools. In their mind, all of our district schools would become magnetic, like a magnet school, and that parents would be empowered through choice to be able to go to any school in the district. Now, our district is really small, it's very geographically tight, and it's extremely diverse by any measure you want to use. But it was not a free market dezoning. It was way before the privatizers had their eyes on education. They were not looking at this as a market exercise. They really wanted this choice-based program to really make equity of access improved in our district. Everybody would have greater access, and people would have a fair way of getting into the schools. Because really, zones aren't terribly fair in and of themselves. And choice in and of itself isn't fair. But there are lots of student assignment plans, which means how do we put kids in schools, that really do try to work on how do we make this fair and equitable for everybody. And that's what we were starting to develop in District 1 as a community, as an empowered community school board. And then what happened? 2004, we got mayoral control. And anybody who can think back and remember, the first thing we lost was, of course, our school boards. And we got the CECs, which are much less empowered advisory parent councils. And we also lost, the first thing that the mayor did was he centralized all the power of the Department of Education, a name they made up, and they got rid of our district office. So all of a sudden, we lost those controls. The things that made choice fair, it was a community-controlled choice program. We lost those controls. And what we were given, it took them a couple years to figure out what was going on, but by 2007, we ended up with a program, a student assignment program that looks a lot like the unzoning or dezoning proposals that have been going around to districts. Can we name them? 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, am I forgetting any? 23. They didn't go to, they have not proposed anything to 3 or 2 or 15, yeah? So what happened, do you think, when we went from this community-controlled choice program that was eyeing fairness and equity, and we went to market-based choice, or what we call pure choice? What do you think happened? Any ideas? Well, the diversity that we were trying to reflect in our schools, where every neighborhood school reflected the diversity of the whole neighborhood, that started to move. And we got schools that began to tip away from diversity and into more and more segregation. Now, this hasn't just happened in District 1. It has been shown nationally that when you use choice and you do not temper it with any kind of controls for fairness or equity, what you get is greater segregation. And we, as a community, and I, as CEC President, have been fighting too many years for me to admit, because it's embarrassing, for the DOE to please give us back our community controls. We want fairness, we want equity, we want diversity in our schools. And I have to tell you, we've leveraged just about every mechanism I can know of and think of. Lawyers and the electeds and letters and protests and town halls and, you name it, I feel like we did it. And the DOE has always said to us, no. You have equity because you have choice. And that is simply not true. As long as some people have power and some people have information and it's not equitably distributed, not everyone has the same choice. And I think Natasha pointed to the fact that there are schools out there that look a lot like the list she described. And then lots of our schools are not resourced and do not have the same facilities and the same programming. So we know that equity takes a conscious effort. I've been working with a group, we call ourselves the Project for Fairness and Equity in Education, and we've been looking at different kinds of student assignment plans all across the country, and even in this city. There are different ways of assigning students to schools that can respond to your community needs. So parents in District 3, through the Parent Leadership Project and Parseo, are looking at a form of community-controlled choice for their community. We in District 1 are also working on issues of diversity and equity in our schools. And we're doing that with support from a group called Appleseed, which is providing data and technical legal assistance when we need it. Because these are issues that are bigger than all of us, and we need to come together. But there are different solutions for different communities, and it needs to be based in the community needs assessment. What do we need? What is our geography? What are our demographics? What would fair mean to us? And so I would like to offer to you our resources, our data, our information. Come and talk to you, share out that information. I have a sign-up sheet if you want to give me your contact information. I can send you different information if you'd like to learn more. If you'd like to get that conversation started in your community, we'd be really happy to support you going forward. But do keep in mind that this is a very short time frame that the DOE's proposed, and it hasn't given communities the opportunity to develop for themselves what matters. And I found, in general, from the DOE, one size fits all doesn't end up fitting anybody. So really take your time and think about it. And thank you very much.